So lots of discussion on the right approach when it comes to restricting travel during this pandemic. Now, some Canadians say that there should be some situations that allow an exemption from the federal government's quarantine rules that would see them paying for a hotel on arrival as they await the results of their COVID-19 test. Nyarady is one of them. She had stage 4 colon cancer and travels to the U.S. to participate in a clinical trial every 3 weeks. She joins us tonight from Vancouver. Hi, Anna. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. Good evening.
So can you first explain a little bit about this clinical trial, how it works, and how you're having to cross the border so frequently?
So the clinical trials work on whatever clinical trial you're on, they have a definite schedule. My schedule is 21 days. And so every 21 days, I'm required to attend at the clinic and have my treatment. I don't have the ability to ask them to change the dates or the times. They give me the dates and the times, and I have to make my way there and be present for that date and time. So they're very strict, and the protocols are again, very rigid. And so we have to do everything possible to do that. My issue right now is that up until now, and for the last 2.5 years participating in this clinical trial, I've been able to fly from Vancouver to Los Angeles. And normally I would be able to do this routine in 1 day, just like I would be going to have a chemotherapy session. So I would leave early in the morning, catch a flight to Los Angeles, have my treatment at the clinic, and then be able to take the late flight back to Vancouver and be home. Through COVID, it's been extended a little bit because the flights are not so readily available. Right. And so it's now, gone into a 2-day ordeal. As of the last month or so, it's become a 3-day ordeal. Last treatment I had, which was a couple of weeks ago, I actually had to drive through the border to catch a flight in Seattle to go to Los Angeles for my treatment and same back. And so this just adds on additional layers of complexity. And then, of course, when I came back, I'm in quarantine. So this time I will have only 4 days out of quarantine because I leave again early Sunday morning to drive back down to Seattle and fly out again for my treatment on Monday morning. So it's becoming very difficult. Wow. Again, I'm very lucky. I'm able to drive across the border, but there are many Canadians who are doing the same trip that I am. I mean, not the same trip, but they're in the same predicament as I am, where they're having to go either through to the United States or to Europe for their treatments for whatever illness it is that they have. And they may not so easily be able to drive across the border. And if they have to fly, this is very difficult in terms of the mental stress that's required, the number of COVID tests that you have to take, the additional costs that's layered in. I'll just give you an example. If I were actually able to fly for my next treatment on Monday, I would have to take a COVID test on February 24th, which I will just be out of quarantine to do, and then wait for my test results so I can board the plane on February 27th, Sunday. And then I'll be in LA late that night and have my treatment the next morning. But my flight to fly out of LA is late in the afternoon, so I'll have passed the 72 hours for the validity of the COVID test, which means I now have to stay in Los Angeles for another 3 days till I get the COVID test and be able to fly out to Vancouver. And then when I land in Vancouver, I'm going to have to take a COVID test again at the airport and stay another 3 days in quarantine. Okay, so my next treatment date is March 1st, meaning I have to be in Los Angeles on February 28th. I can't do it. because I won't have enough time out of quarantine to get a COVID test.
So, Anna, can you tell us, have you tried to get any information about whether you can get an exemption? I understand that people traveling to Canada for medical treatment are exempt from that 2-week quarantine, but not if you're going to the U.S. for treatment and coming back. So have you tried to find out, and what have you heard?
Yes, I've had some help through my local MP and whatever. We've written to PHAC, and they've responded and said there is no exemption for medical purposes.
Wow.
So it's just not there. However, the chief medical officer does have the ability to grant special exemptions, and that's what we are going for. That's what we're asking for, to consider all the Canadians that are going abroad to get essential life-saving medical treatment that is not available in Canada. If any of this was available in Canada, we wouldn't be putting ourselves through this kind of travel situation. But, when it's not available in Canada and it is available elsewhere, you do what you can to get there.
Right.
But what we're asking for is please consider, what we are going through. We should be considered essential as well, because we are going to get essential medical treatment. It's life-saving medical treatment.
Yes.
And although we are not offering essential service, we don't provide an essential service, I actually do think in my case that, and in many, many other people's cases that I'm in a clinical trial, there are many people that are going down and participating in clinical trials, and clinical trials are important,
right,
because that's how we get new drugs approved. That's how we get new treatments approved, and
right,
that's how we get new medical protocols approved, right? So I know it's stretching it by making the comparison.
No,
but
I understand. It
anything.
sounds like quite an ordeal. Anna Nyarady is in Vancouver. She travels to the U.S. every 3 weeks to get treatment as part of a clinical trial after recovering from stage 4 colon cancer. Anna, thanks so much for sharing your story with us. All the best to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening.